It's not 2026 that should scare Max Verstappen, it's the fact that Lando Norris has already proven he can take a championship away from him. And now the sport is walking into a regulation reset where Max's biggest advantage, control, might not survive the year. Because the truth is, the Verstappen era didn't end with a crash, it ended with a warning. A warning that started the moment Lando stopped racing Max like a friend and started racing him like a future enemy. And if you think I'm exaggerating, remember Austria. Late race. Win on the line. Verstappen and Norris collide, Verstappen gets a 10-second penalty, and the race flips instantly. One squeeze, one mistake, 1 inch too far, and the entire paddock remembered Max can bleed. Now here's the part most fans missed. That crash wasn't hard racing. It was a live demonstration of what happens when Norris refuses to back off, and Max refuses to give an inch. And if you want the biggest reveal early, here it is. Norris has already ended Verstappen's reign once. The 2025 title fight came down to a brutal 2-point margin, and that gap isn't luck, that's a statement. That is a championship decided by nerves, timing, and who blinks first. So when we say 2026, the war starts now, we're not predicting it. We're admitting we're already in it. Because Max isn't facing a rising star anymore. He's facing a champion who knows what it feels like to stand on top of the world and wants to stay there. And if you're the kind of person who watches F1 and instantly asks, okay, but what's the political consequence of that? Then you're already subscribed in spirit. Consider this your official paperwork. Now let's talk about why 2026 could turn this rivalry into something far uglier than 2024 ever was. Because 2026 isn't just a new season, it's a new Formula One. And resets don't reward the most talented driver. They reward the most adaptable machine, driver, engineers, and decision-making chain under maximum stress. And this time, the stress is designed into the sport. The 2026 era is built around sustainability, a major technical shift, and a completely different way to create performance. Translation: every advantage you've built for years is at risk of being deleted in a single winter. And one of the biggest changes is the power unit direction. The MGU-H is gone, and the electrical side becomes far more significant. That means energy deployment strategy won't just be important. It could decide races. Here's the uncomfortable question. If the car becomes more dependent on energy management, who benefits more? The team that's been perfect for years, or the team that's been learning how to steal wins in chaos? Because Norris didn't become dangerous by being flawless. He became dangerous by being relentlessly opportunistic. He learned how to win in mess. Max learned how to prevent mess from existing. That difference matters. Now let's go deeper, because this rivalry isn't just driver versus driver. It's two philosophies colliding. Verstappen is control. He suffocates races. He forces teams into mistakes. He turns pressure into compliance. Norris is momentum. He builds belief, turns aggression into rhythm, and when the window opens, he attacks like he's tired of waiting for permission. And here's what nobody is talking about. When Norris won that title, he didn't just win a trophy. He created a new power center inside the grid. Because now, McLaren isn't a project. McLaren is a threat. And threats change how people behave. Red Bull, for years, operated like a government with one ruler. Max is the system. The car concept has been built around his preferences. The pit wall understands his aggression like a language. The team is engineered for his tempo. But in a reset era, the system gets stress tested. So what happens if 2026 starts poorly? What happens if Verstappen has to chase instead of lead? That's when rivalries become personal. Not because the drivers hate each other, because the teams stop protecting them from consequences. And the Verstappen-Norris story already has a preview of that energy. Austria didn't just produce a penalty, it produced a narrative fracture. One side felt punished. The other side felt vindicated. And that right there is the diener of war. One side says, we were punished. The other side says, you always get away with it. That's not just drama, that's future escalation fuel. And Norris is not coming into 2026 as the nice guy chasing his first title anymore. He's coming in as the man who can look Max in the eyes and silently say, I've already taken your crown once. Now people, because anger changes behavior. Max, when cornered, becomes sharper, more stubborn, more uncompromising. Norris, when cornered, becomes faster, but also riskier, more emotional, more willing to gamble. And the grid knows it. So teams will start playing games, not obvious games, not illegal games, the real games. Strategy timing, undercut traps, radio narratives. Tiny moments where your rival feels like the rules are being applied differently to them. And you know what happens when drivers feel that? They stop racing the track and start racing the stewards. That's when we get chaos. Midway check. If you enjoy this kind of breakdown, where we treat F1 like the political war zone it actually is, then you're not a casual fan. You're one of us. That's why this channel exists. Now I need you to pick a side right now. In 2026, who cracks first under the reset pressure? Max Verstappen or Lando Norris? And don't give me the safe answer. Because if you don't comment, you're basically letting the loudest people decide the story for you. Now let's land the punchline. Because the war in 2026 won't start with a crash. It'll start with something far more dangerous. A weekend where both realize the other one has the faster car. Here's the real twist. 2026 won't be decided by who is better. It'll be decided by who can survive the identity crisis of a new Formula One. Max Verstappen's greatest weapon has never been raw speed. It's certainty. He drives like the world is supposed to move around him. But if 2026 creates unpredictability, if power delivery and energy strategy become the difference between domination and disaster, Max won't just be fighting Norris. He'll be fighting something he hates even more. A car that refuses to obey him. And for Norris, the threat is different. The problem with becoming champion is the universe stops treating you like the underdog. Every team studies you. Every driver feels justified attacking you. Every mistake becomes proof you don't belong at the top. So ask yourself this. Can Norris defend a title when the grid stops respecting the fairy tale and starts hunting the king? And that's where this rivalry becomes nuclear, because Max doesn't just want his title back. He wants to reassert the hierarchy. He wants to prove that takeover was a moment, not a regime change. And Norris doesn't want to beat Max again. He wants to build an era where the sport says, this is Norris's Formula One now. That's not a rivalry. That's a takeover attempt. Now imagine the worst-case scenario for the entire sport. 2026 starts with McLaren strong. Red Bull responds. They trade wins. The media turns it into a two-man war. And then one weekend, somewhere tight, brutal and unforgiving, Max and Lando end up side by side again. And the question isn't, will they crash? The question is, who is willing to lose the race, just to make sure the other guy doesn't win it? Because that's the moment you stop being rivals and start being enemies. And here's what's at risk. If Max wins 2026, the sport confirms the Verstappen era survives any reset. It means he's not just the best driver of a rule set, he's the best driver of a generation. But if Norris wins again, then that championship wasn't the end of Max's reign. It was the beginning of Norris's dynasty. That is the real stakes. Not points, not trophies, legacy. And if you're staying for this journey into 2026, you're going to want the next breakdown, because the real story isn't just Max versus Lando. It's the rule changes, the team politics, and the upgrades that will decide who gets the first punch. So click the next video on the channel where we break down how the 2026 regulation shift changes the balance of power and why some teams are about to look completely different overnight. Because once you understand that, you'll realize this war didn't start in 2026. It started the moment Norris proved Max can be beaten.